So the United States just carried out military strikes that killed 11 members of the Venezuelan group Tren de Aragua. We're going to dive into what we know so far, how we got here, and then what to watch for going forward. Starting out, this is strike footage released by the White House showing the kinetic strike that did eliminate those 11 terrorists. President Trump released a statement saying, quote, "Earlier this morning, on my orders, U.S. military forces conducted a kinetic strike against positively identified Tren de Aragua."
We literally just dropped like $1 million bomb on that fucking $10 Timu ship.
On narco-terrorists in the Southcom area of responsibility. TDA is a designated foreign terrorist organization operating under the control of Nicolas Maduro. That's the president of Venezuela. Responsible for mass murder, drug trafficking, sex trafficking, and acts of violence and terror across the United States and Western Hemisphere. The strike occurred while the terrorists were at...
I think the craziest thing about this is that our excuse is because he's sex trafficking there, which is one of them, you know. But we don't release the Epstein file, so I think that's some hypocritical shit.
Sea and international waters transporting illegal narcotics heading to the United States. The strike resulted in 11 terrorists killed in action. No U.S. forces were harmed in this strike. Please let this serve as a notice to anybody even thinking about bringing drugs into the United States of America. Beware. And that actually hints at what the Trump administration might be trying to get at specifically around this use of military force. Now, President Trump, in a press conference just a few hours ago, hinted that this took place, saying, "We just blew a drug boat out of the water and there's more to come." Let's give that a listen.
When you come out and when you leave the room, you'll see that we
just, ships.
Over the last few minutes, literally shot out a boat, a drug-carrying boat, a lot of drugs in that boat. And you'll be seeing that and you'll be reading about that. It just happened moments ago. And our great general, head of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, who's been so incredible, including what took place in Iran, knocking out potential nuclear power for a long time to come. I think within a month they would have had it if we didn't do what we did. But he gave us a little bit of a briefing. And you'll see. And there's more where that came from. We have a lot of drugs pouring into our country, coming in for a long time. And we just, these came out of Venezuela and coming out very heavily from Venezuela. A lot of things are coming out of Venezuela. So,
if Venezuela is smart, they won't keep sending these drug ships out to us because, I mean, Jesus Christ. I mean, we literally just fucking nuked them from space. Like, they're just like, imagine you're just with your homies, just fucking, you know, going across the sea and it's quiet. And all of a sudden, boom, out of nowhere. Yeah, man, you're being watched, so don't ever think you're safe. So that's, don't do it. No.
We took it out, and you'll get to see that after this meeting is over.
Now, it's worth mentioning how we got here, and I think the best way to describe this is slowly then all at once. I mean, there has been a lot of tension between the United States and Venezuela, especially under the Maduro regime, but recently, in the last couple of weeks, we've seen a noticeable uptick in this activity. The U.S. Department of Justice a couple weeks ago increased the reward for any information leading to the arrest of Nicolas Maduro to $50 million.
Damn.
This is the president
of
Venezuela. Earlier today, I saw it. Not sure if this is new or not, but another bounty or reward issued for the Venezuelan Minister of Defense, Pedro Lopez, at $15 million. Now, a lot of the rationale here is that this is an illegitimate government. And you'll see that mentioned a lot recently, kind of the framing from U.S. government officials. They don't really talk about President Maduro, but anytime his name comes up, they say he is the illegitimate leader. He is a terrorist, head of a narco cartel in Venezuela.
It's because we want to get someone from, like, our government in there. That's usually what we do is we overturn governments like that. So, I mean, Mexico is pretty much doing the same thing, but you don't see us going in there trying to do that, you know, not trying to take over the government because the president is if you know what I mean.
Again, much easier to take military action or possibly topple a regime if that leader is not a democratically elected president, but a narco terrorist, right? And it seems like that's been a lot of the framing in recent weeks.
What I will say with respect to Venezuela, President Trump has been very clear and consistent. He's prepared to use every element of American power to stop drugs from flooding into our country and to bring those responsible to justice. The Maduro regime is not the legitimate government of Venezuela. It is a narco-terror cartel. In Maduro, it is the view of this administration, is not a legitimate president. He is a fugitive head of this cartel who has been indicted in the United States for trafficking drugs into the country.
Now, to be fair, there are a lot of questions around Maduro's most recent election, and there's a lot of countries around the world, including the United States, that do not view those results as legitimate and say that he stole the actual election. Now, we also had, under the Trump administration, so this was a little bit earlier in his time in office, he did label the Tren de Aragua group as a foreign terror organization, and this was a significant move. It was not just this group out of Venezuela, but a lot of groups in Mexico as well. Generally, what that does is open up a lot more options for the United States to go after these organizations. It's not just military force, and there's definitely going to be some debate about the legality of carrying out a strike like this. We'll likely to see more of that in the coming days, but it also opens up a lot of possibilities within, economic realm, trade, financial sanctions, DOJ, and more. So moving Tren de Aragua to a foreign terror organization really kind of set this up to where we are right now. What we've seen in recent days is a significant U.S. naval deployment into the Caribbean. Talking at least 4 guided missile destroyers. That's a lot of firepower.
For
a submarine, at least one submarine, multiple aircraft. We've got MQ-9 Reaper drones. We've got reconnaissance aircraft. We've got the Iwo Jima Amphibious Ready Group. So roughly 2,200 Marines. My understanding is around 800 of those are a set landing party, that carry out amphibious operations. A lot of that has led people to the idea that this is too much for what the White House is referring to as simply a counter-drug operation. And they've been very consistent with that messaging. But a lot of people, understandably so, look at this strike package, this graphic here put together by Ian Ellis over on X, and they say that is not what you need to pull over drug boats. There's more at play here. And there have been a lot of statements made recently from opposition members in Venezuela, understandably so, but also some people in major publications here in the United States saying it's time to liberate Venezuela. General Flynn, the former U.S. National Security Advisor, just 2 days ago, said it's time to make Venezuela great again. Talking about toppling the Maduro regime. And it's understandable how you might get to that as a possible goal when you look at the strike package heading south. So on the one hand, we have people arguing that all of this is going to be designed around a possible invasion or regime change.
When I look at this chart here, it's like getting a shotgun to kill a cockroach. You know what I mean? It's like, Jesus Christ, why? Why do you need all that, man?
Personally, I've said it does not look like the size force that would carry out a land invasion. These Marines can do a lot of damage, but they're certainly not taking over Venezuela with just the Iwo Jima Amphibious Ready Group. The middle ground was lethal strikes, and that's likely what we just saw play out here. And something to keep an eye on is if this is the first or the only that Trump carries out here in the near future. All the way over, and part of those strikes could possibly be into Venezuelan territory. This one notably in international waters. We should watch to see if they go after TDA organizational facilities inside of Venezuela itself. All the way over on the other side is the idea that this is just bluffing. At this point, I think we got to rule that one out because we have seen actual military action taken. Now, in terms of the Venezuelan response that we have seen so far,
I don't know if Trump would be bluffing, man. We kind of bombed Iran too for I mean, if we do that for them, I don't think it would take much for us to accidentally invade Venezuela.
They have put out multiple statements, including just yesterday, that they are prepared to fight and ready to defend against any U.S. military strikes, which at this point
they are not ready, though.
And we'll get into that when we're talking about what to watch for going forward. But this strike took place in international waters against what the United States has labeled a foreign terror organization. So it was not against the Venezuelan government, and it was not inside of Venezuelan territory. There might be some gray area there in terms of how Venezuela responds. But
That's what we
nonetheless,
did
we
in the
have
Middle
seen
East
their Minister of Defense say they
when
are
we had
ready.
the war
He's
on
talked about the
terror.
deployment, or said he's deployed about 15,000 soldiers to the northern portion of the country, deployed naval assets, and said a significant, a massive drone deployment has taken place off their coastline. And one thing to keep in mind with those drone deployments is we do know that there is a historically close relationship between Venezuela and Iran and Russia. And what we've seen Iran export, Russia hasn't really exported this to my knowledge, but they certainly would be, they've talked about doing it to Venezuela. But the export of these long range strike drones, like the Shahed coming from Iran or the Garan style drone coming from Russia, those may not necessarily put the U.S. mainland at risk. And that's not what I would expect Venezuela to target right out the gate by a long shot. But they could possibly push back U.S. forces in the region, especially those sailing south in this strike force, if they find themselves in range of some of these long range drones. We don't know the Venezuelan drone capability in that regard quite yet. We have seen Venezuela call up quite a few of their citizens. They have really kind of advertised that they've gone to the streets, calling up people that are ready to defend their land again against an American
All the
invasion that Maduro
farmers.
is saying is in the works.
That's crazy. All the
But that does kind
children,
of lead us to what to watch. So, anyways, we are seeing a
the
significant
farm
movement by
animals.
Venezuela, mostly at this point prepared to defend their territory. Haven't seen much in terms of pushing out and actually going after U.S. forces that are still operating in international waters. So, what to watch for here in the coming days, first and foremost, is the Venezuelan response. As far as I've seen, they haven't said anything. A couple different
What are they
organizations have
gonna
reached out
do,
for
dude?
comment, and they haven't heard anything
All this
back
shit's like
from
outdated.
Venezuela. Again, keep in mind, this strike took place in international waters, so it was not in Venezuelan territory, and it's against a group that the United States has designated a foreign terror organization, a drug trafficking cartel, and more, right? How does Venezuela handle that? Do they say, well, these were our citizens no matter what? You still killed Venezuelan citizens, and maybe recognize or acknowledge some sort of ties between TDA and the Venezuelan government? Do they say, thank you for your help in defeating cartels that are not good and are tearing apart our country? Probably not, but you can see how this puts Venezuela in a bit of a tough spot. Do they stand up for this strike or not? That is yet to be seen. And then another big piece here, of course, will be, is this something the Trump administration is doing one-off, just one strike to send a message, now everybody get in line? Or are we going to see a series
I
of
think it's
attacks,
target
especially now that we
practice.
have these military
I think they're
resources
bored.
deployed just off the coast of Venezuela? That's one thing that a lot of people have been pointing at in terms of this being a bluff. There's kind of this mix between a bluff and military action where there has been the idea raised that one or two strikes against these cartels could send a message not just to Maduro in Venezuela, but also to President Sheinbaum in Mexico, saying we are serious. We are actually going to use military force against these cartels. If you don't do it, we will. So when President Trump says in his statement there's more where that came from, it's entirely possible that is the message he's trying to send to other heads of state in the Western Hemisphere. But regardless of what comes of this, hopefully it's a dialing back of tensions, right? But no matter what, this is pretty notable that we've got U.S. military carrying out kinetic strikes in the Western Hemisphere. We haven't seen a lot of that in a long time, I would say. But that's all we got for now. We'll keep an eye on this to see how it develops in the coming days. Thanks for watching, and I'll see y'all next time.
That's fucking crazy. Trump declassified a video of us bombing a fucking $10 Temu tent, a fucking piece of crap boat. Um, I mean, I understand, yeah, foreign nations, shipping drugs to the US is bad, but at the same time, you got doctors, fucking getting Americans addicted to opioids, you know what I mean? So, I mean, it's crazy how you can legally do that here and ruin people's lives, but if it's like a foreign nation, we can make up an excuse to pretty much invade them, it looks like. I don't know. I mean, there's a reason why we're in Venezuela, and I think it's more than just, oh, they're just sending drugs and they're doing this and that. I'm pretty sure, like, when the U.S. does something like that, it's to gain something. So we're definitely trying to gain something. I think we're just trying to get Maduro out and pretty much trying to get someone connected to the U.S. government in there, so that it benefits us. Because come on, I mean, drugs are pouring every day, and our freaking doctors are prescribing people opioids and getting them addicted. So I don't really think the war on drugs is something you can fix. But other than that, guys, I'll see you later.